Hi there, tarot lovers. So, this crazy fool came up again, asking me to be a fool, asking me to embody this message, and asking me to dive a little bit deeper in order to share yet another message that might be even more interesting, maybe may touch a different aspect about this card that I haven't focused on before. So I was diving into it, looking into this card and what it really means and what comes up as far as this initiation process, or as far as our ability to transcend some aspect of ourselves, because all of the major arcana cards are asking us to step into another lesson, and if there's any stepping over the precipice into another level, the Fool represents this more than ever. And I've mentioned before that this is kind of like asking us to be ready to level up in some way, level up in our lives. I mean, there's an aspect of this card which represents the soul jumping into the unknown of an incarnation and becoming this body that's born into this 3D world without really knowing what this exactly is, knowing on some level but not knowing the full experience of forgetting and the full experience of losing the essence of who you are, forgetting who you are and jumping into the unknown, but holding on to that trust and that faith that everything's going to be just fine. It's all part of the bigger plan. This is what you choose to do. There's a choice here, but there's also a trust. So there's like a trust that we need to have in the unknown. If you imagine jumping off a cliff, literally jumping off a cliff, the majority of outcomes and the majority of outcomes in our head would be, okay, well, we're going to die. And this card asks us to be ready for that in a way, not in a darker physical sense, but in a sense of, are we ready to let go some of who we are? Are we ready to die to an older version of ourselves? Are we ready for that leveling up? Are we ready to trust that choosing to step into a version of the unknown that might be scary as anything, that might, in our heads, not make any sense, and hence the Fool? We've got to be a little bit foolish in order to take this lift. In order to make that jump, we've got to trust, we've got to have this faith. And as we're falling, is anybody going to catch us? As we're falling, are we going to get into a pessimistic frame of mind and think, oh my gosh, I made the wrong decision, I jumped when I shouldn't have, oh no, or are we going to find that moment of trust? When things seem to be going wrong, what is our go-to emotion? What is our go-to experience? Are we able to find that trust in that moment? Are we able to find that feeling like, okay, everything's going to be just fine? Even when things appear to be wrong, I made the wrong decision, I slipped up, I made a mistake. Mistakes aren't really wrong decisions only when we choose to see them as such, only when we define our actions by one short-term result that might not be the one we intended, but in the long term there's something more beautiful waiting for us. In the long term there's something amazing that even a short-term mistake might be might be the instigator or the birth of a long-term success. And having that faith in the bigger plan, having that faith in the bigger story is what this card is asking us to find. Because there's a leveling up here that asks us to die to old fears, die to old ways of being. So if we're afraid to let go, if we're afraid to reinvent ourselves, and if we're afraid to accept that we can be more than we have programmed ourselves to be, or that we feel programmed to be in some way or another, then it's going to be really difficult to embrace what this card speaks about. It's a foolish jump, it's a foolish leap, because on the outside it doesn't seem to make any sense. It seems to go against the grain of what everybody might be telling us to do. It might not make complete sense, but it might feel completely needed. It might feel necessary. It might feel like if we don't make this leap, we will never become the version of ourselves that we want to become. And that's part of the message of the Fool coming up in our lives. That's part of the challenge to say yes to opportunities which we have to choose, we have to make, we have to create on one level, and we have to be ready to fall, we have to be ready to fail, and we have to be ready to feel the discomfort of falling, because we'll fall to our demise, but it will be the demise of an older version of ourselves and the birth of a new one. Love to hear your comments on this one. Have a fantastic day, everyone.